Sore Mas Akbar.
Sore Mas Akbar.
Selamat sore, Tiga. Apa kabar?
Sehat.
Kami di mana di Bogor?
Ya, aman.
So Annette is also present here. Good morning, Annette.
Yeah, sorry, still struggling with. Good morning.
Morning.
It's morning in
Terima
Netherlands
kasih.
and afternoon in Indonesia.
Greetings from Indonesia.
Selamat sore.
Selamat sore.
Selamat.
Halo, selamat sore.
Selamat
Halo,
sore.
Pak Budi.
Halo,
Pak Budi is
Vika.
one of
Ya.
lecturer. Yeah. One of my colleagues in Institut Pertanian Bogor. Also one of the person that motivate me to take the master degree. So I would like to say hi to Pak Budi.
Selamat sore Pak Budi.
Sorry, Pak. Baik, Mbak. Sepertinya sudah bisa dimulai.
Sudah bisa dimulai ya. So we can start now. I will do moderation in Bahasa Indonesia, and because a lot of our audience today is Indonesian, so I will do in Bahasa Indonesia. And Figa will present in English, but then Q&A session will be done in Bahasa Indonesia as well. Is it okay, Annette?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Saya belum lancar tapi saya
Oke.
mengerti bahasa Indonesia.
Oke. Kalau begitu, selamat sore semuanya. Terima kasih telah hadir di acara presentasi hasil akhir kegiatan magang yang dilakukan oleh Saudara Figa Ananda Wicaksono dengan lembaga kami, yaitu YAPK. Nah, Figa ini masuk sebagai mahasiswa magang sekitar bulan September ya, Figa ya kalau nggak salah ya. Nah, sejak bulan September dan karena situasi COVID pandemi ini, Figa tidak bisa datang langsung ke Indonesia, maka Figa melakukan kegiatan magang atau internship-nya secara jarak jauh gitu. Jadi dibantu oleh teman-teman yang ada di lapangan di Sulawesi Utara, Figa melakukan wawancara kepada para pemangku kepentingan yang ada kaitannya mengenai rantai pasar di Sulawesi Utara, khususnya untuk gurita, kaitannya dengan potensi apakah sertifikasi perikanan untuk gurita itu mempunyai peluang untuk dilakukan di Indonesia, khususnya di Sulawesi Utara. Oke, untuk membuka mungkin saya akan mempersilahkan Mas Akbar sebagai CEO dari YAPK untuk memberikan sepatah dua patah kata sebelum kita melanjutkan acara ini. Silakan Mas Akbar.
Selamat pagi, selamat sore, Viga, Ibu Annette, Pak Budi, teman-teman semua yang hadir di dalam sesi online ini. Tentunya saya ingin mengucapkan selamat ya atas lengkapnya internship ini dengan dipresentasikan pada hari ini. Tentunya memang dalam situasi yang unik ini menuntut adanya kegiatan-kegiatan yang juga extraordinary atau unik. Salah satunya adalah apa yang dilakukan oleh Figa ini, internship yang dilakukan secara kombinasi antara offline dan online. Saya kira koordinasi yang baik sudah dilakukan oleh Figa. Figa berkontak dengan field team di Sulawesi Utara, lakukan interview, dan kemudian Figa melakukan follow up dan analisis jarak jauh. Gitu. Ada wawancara juga sudah dilakukan dengan pihak-pihak yang saya kira relevan dengan risetnya Figa. Dan YAPK sebagai sebuah non-government organization, civil society organization, sangat mendukung kegiatan-kegiatan internship seperti ini. Bagaimana kaum muda itu bisa terus terlibat aktif baik secara akademik atau dalam praktikal gitu di lapangan untuk membantu memecahkan persoalan-persoalan aktual, tantangan-tantangan aktual yang kita hadapi sebagai civil society di Indonesia. Nah, dalam hal ini Viga mungkin sudah banyak berinteraksi juga dengan para stakeholder di Sulawesi Utara, khususnya salah satu program tertua YAPK. Sejak 2008 kami bekerja di sana. So, ya, selamat Viga. Mudah-mudahan pada hari ini kita bisa discuss lebih banyak, menikmati hasilmu. Saya yakin ini akan sangat bermanfaat untuk kami yang ada di sini, dan mudah-mudahan secara akademik tentunya juga ada benefits buat kamu. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih Mas Akbar atas sambutannya. Kemudian sebelum kita lanjut ke Viga untuk presentasi, saya akan sedikit bercerita sedikit tentang Viga. Nah, Viga ini sedang mengenyam pendidikan S2 di Wageningen University di Belanda. Viga juga punya dasar perikanan. Dia lulus dari Universitas Pajajaran di tahun 2018. Gitu. Nah, mungkin selanjutnya silakan Viga, the floor is yours. Please, you have around 20 minutes to present your presentation.
Okay, thank you so much, Bami, for the time and place. I would like to share screen. So yeah, the presentation is mostly will be in English, and it's okay if later the discussion will also in Bahasa Indonesia. So this is my presentation. Okay, first of all, thank you everyone for coming from this presentation. You are all the person that very special for me, for helping me through finishing all this stuff. Today will also be a special day for me because I'm almost to having my master degree. So this topic is also about the certification, and one of the topic that I really intrigued and really interesting even before I want to do this master degree in Netherlands. And I'm very grateful that all of you is present today. And also the last is thank you for YAPK for giving me the opportunity to do the internship, to meeting with several stakeholders, to have interview with them. And I will share the agenda of today. First, if introduction, I will mention some background of this research and also with the research aim and the research question. Second is the conceptual framework by Ostrom. Third is the methodology, which consists of research design and research method. And then also there's a results that's separated into fisheries practice that or into local and governance practice that into government NGO. And also the discussion about the requirement of certification, challenge and opportunities. And the last one is the conclusion and recommendation. So I will start by introduction first. The background is our species, which is octopus, that currently listed in the top 10 global exporters, along with China and Vietnam, with about export value about $2 million per year. However, octopus itself in Indonesia is not a priority list, special priority list of fish species in Indonesia. And most of the octopus is purposefully for export, so it has a very big room for improvement. But then also another problem, according to data by Seafood Watchlist in 2021, Indonesia at least is listed under the red or avoid categories of seafood product. So it's not really sustainable practice for now. There's also some data that's shared that there's a weak enforcement of regulation, and as well as the IUU practice in some region in Indonesia now, that's still using bomb, cyanide, and other dangerous things. So the practice is currently happen. However, the demand for the octopus is still increased, especially for the EU and the US. However, they want to sustainable demand, which can be shown by certification. So what is certification? Certification is one of the methods to ensure that fishery practices is considered sustainable and also safely consumed by the buyer. However, so they giving this kind of equitable things in their product, so it's safely consumed. However, this equitable is not actually perfect because there's some problem emerge in small scale fisheries. For instance, it's not really inclusive and it's really expensive for the local the people in remote area to approach this eco-label. So this background make me think about the aim of the research. Is it possible to have a certification in Indonesia, and is it what kind of challenge and opportunities that will be emerged if we implement certification in octopus fisheries in North Sulawesi and Indonesia, which is become the aim of my research. And now it's going down to the research question. I want to know what are the challenges and opportunities to implement certification programs in an octopus fisheries case with the study case in North Minahasa region, because that's the base of YAPK. And the first research question is, how do octopus fishers practices in North Minahasa will fit into certification programs? And the second research question is, how do the governance actor perceive the implementation of certification programs in North Minahasa? So to answer this research question, I use the socio-ecological framework by Ostrom. This is one of the quite complicated framework that I use because it has 4 items: resource system, resource unit, governance system, and users. To look at interaction between them, and I will not going too deep in this framework. I will just mention that governance system and the users will be my main focus because the research question is related to the users and the governance system. And this framework also have some sub levels. For instance, in governance system, we discuss about government organization, non-government organization, operational rules, monitoring and sanctioning process, and also history of use, location, and importance of resource and socioeconomic attributes that we will discuss of today, and also in my report. So the methodology is mostly using qualitative case study. The case study stuff is about the possibility implementation of certification in North Sulawesi of octopus fisheries, and the research location is mostly I interview, because it's online, I interview mostly people in Gangga Satu because fishing and local trading location is happening here. And most of the actor is also located in the Gangga Satu Island. And what makes this place special is because this region will also be a pilot project for implementation of certification in North Sulawesi. But then the flow is after the fishing and local trading location, they doing the further collection location in the Likupang, and they send it to the export location in Bitung before they send to Jakarta and then export to the US or EU. And the research design is consisting into 2. First is literature review to provide additional information regarding topics about certification, socio-ecological system, and octopus fisheries in particular. And also semi-structured interview, mostly it's collected online with platforms such as Zoom and WhatsApp because I cannot go to the field. And the aim is to collect primary data as well as explore participant opinion regarding the implementation of certification. And I have interviewed total 10 interviewees, including fishers, middlemen and middlewomen, exporters, government, and NGO. So we will go to the results now. First, it's just an illustration. What happened in the field is the production activity by the fishers. So as their main job is to fishing and catching octopus, the activity is taking about 1 day from 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. in the morning to 3 or 4 a.m. in the afternoon. And they provide octopus for middlemen and middlewoman. And then after they going to shore, their sell the octopus to the middleman and the middlewoman, which the main task of middlewoman is to do financial support, giving fuel, giving gear, and giving food to the fishers, and then they also collecting octopus from fishers before they are selling octopus to the exporters, which is the wholesale activities. What the exporters did is repacking, trading, storing, and distributing. So it's mostly the process of export. And one thing that has been mentioned and is quite interesting is they also implement HACCP certificate, but then there is no indication of sustainable certification yet. It's HACCP is more related to sanitation and hygiene. And this is the gear that mostly the fishers in Gangga Island use. They use ketang. It's the look is similar to crab, which is the food of octopus. And then there is a pocong. It's look like it's similarly look to the octopus. So they use it as bait, and they use sambi for catch the octopus. And the boat is considered as it's a small scale. It's only consists of 1 or 2 person. So yeah, mostly they catching it alone. And then after the activities is done, they wait the octopus in the shore, and then it's the process of collecting activities. First the middleman or middlewoman using ice and cool box to make it sterile, and they keep it because only using these tools because there is no electricity in Gangga Island, so they need to make the quality of product is still good. Then the process is taken 2 or 3 days before they send it to the exporters or to the industry of octopus, and they make another loading and several stuff to make it. To make another preparation before export. And for the information, for the interview information, the process from export from Bitung to Jakarta to the buyer is taken about 20 days. Yeah. And this is the most interesting findings that I found. There is a program called Rumah Boboca, or it's temporary closure or penutupan sementara. So it's really initiative directly by the local person himself, for the local people itself. So they look at why the results of octopus is reducing and why the size is smaller. So they think about some program or some activities that can make this fishing activities more sustainable. So they, within the help of YPK and YPL to support NGO, they make some discussion, and they analyze the fishing and collecting data. So they make temporary closure program with the help also for the local government. If I can translate you, the activity stopped from 13 April to 13 July. Please keep it. Please be patient until this activity is done. So yeah, this is really interesting finding that local person is actually implementing sustainable action right now. And for the governance of octopus, which is the second result, it's I made it more simple to if we want to make a possibility of certification, it consists of at least 3 supported by the government, local, district, and provincial, as well as the NGO that focus on industry, which is SFV, and NGO that focus on market or local actors, which is the YPL in partnership with YPK. And I will describe one of each function and each task that has been done by each stakeholders. The first one is the government. So the local government is giving permission for local activities after discussion with the fishers and middlemen. So they giving permission to them to do the temporary closure in Rumah Boboca. And then the district government is focused on empowerment of fishers, like giving help for fuel and giving help for gear, for subsidizing gear, and the provincial government is more focused on budgeting a strategic plan to how to make the program is more sustainable, and they also have covered topics such as certification and something because provincial also dealing with tuna cases, and the MDPI or Masyarakat Dalam Perikanan Indonesia, it's also one of the NGO that I interview. It doesn't really connect it with the octopus, but they're really they have some experience in implement certification, which is MSC and fair trade but in the tuna case from 2014, and their main job is the fishers is improving fishers capability, such as providing financial remuneration and draft making, because in their opinion, the local actors is also need to have not only hard skill but soft skill to make decision management by themselves. And the next NGO is YPL or Yayasan Pesisir Lestari, with their main job is to do the data collection, such as socioeconomic profile and the general profile of octopus fisheries in North Sulawesi, and then they analyze the data before they communicate it to the in the forum group focus group discussion again. And the last thing is doing the community-based octopus management along with YPK. And the program is the Rumah Boboca that I told before. And then the last one is Sustainable Fisheries Partnership, or SFP. They are really focused on mobilization of supply chain, which means that they are first have a demand by the market first from the US and the EU, so the buyer contacting them, and now they want to have a fishery improvement project in octopus cases. And then they also have worked with Crab Association and APRI, so this association is now having a place in the national meeting, so they can have a more opinion that being heard by national government within this association. And then the last one is a communication forum with national government about the octopus that currently is in progress. So for discussion, I will start by requirement of the certification first. So I previously mentioned there is three examples of certification: Marine Stewardship Council, Fishery Improvement Project or FIP, and Fair Trade. So the first one is Marine Stewardship Council. It consists of three principles: sustainable fish stock, minimizing environmental impact, and fishery management, along with 28 indicators. And these indicators will be scored. If the score is below 60, it cannot be certified, and it's between 60 and 80, it will be certificate with some requirement. If more than 80, it's safe for eco label. And then the fishery improvement project itself is it's like a transition before going to MSc, so they can start by basic FIP first, which is specific and focus on one key aspect or one key problem. But then the comprehensive FIP is to address all issues to achieve MSc, which is the 28 indicator that I mentioned before. And the score can be seen in the fisheryprogress.org with the score A to E. The last one is Fair Trade, which is currently NIO certification standard in 2014. The first case is tuna in Maluku, if I'm not mistaken. And then they focus to make the capture fisheries improve over time with the standard similar to MSc, but then they have different parameters. I will not mention all of them, but then some of the parameters is about empowerment and human rights and workers. I will show some picture about this later. So for the challenges, according to interview, I make some assumption that the first problem of certification is the rigorous standard. Every year, the standard increases to follow the new rules of fishery sustainability based on interview with MDPI. So yeah, the standard is getting higher every time. So as I said before, it's a bit difficult for the small-scale fisheries to keep in touch with the standard, and then the transition process to certification is not easy. It's a quite active approach by the local community itself to lead FIP, because it's also happened in the case of crab and tuna. So it must be a collective action by not only the local actors, but also with the help of government and the NGO to help them. So it can be done only with the cooperation between them. And the last one is the challenge is to organize FIP in the long term, because currently there is no organization that mediates octopus stakeholder. It's interview with SFP, because they have been working with crab association called APRI. So it will be better if the octopus organization will be making in the future. It's also interesting to mention another problem, such as the expensive price of the label with high standard. It's also need annual review, so it's really need commitment to be involved in this certification. And the opportunities is I look that choosing Gangga Satu as a preliminary research location is a great option, because they have implemented Rumah Boboca, so their action towards sustainability. So using this place as research place will be a nice option. And then there is an NGO that backups relationship between local actors, which is YPL and YPK, and industry, which is SFP. And both NGO is become fundamental in accelerating FIP. And also during interview with government, I have some nice talks about they want to cooperate or giving permission regarding certification issues or any particular issues to the octopus, even though they still learn about this case. It's nice to have open attitude by the government. And the last one is the willingness of the local actors itself to learn more about certification or sustainability, because it's also one thing that I asked, because they have not understand what is certification yet. So they want to be involved in any kind of training if there's one kind of them. So for the conclusion, the first conclusion is about the fishing practice, octopus fishing practice in North Sulawesi, and what I conclude is the octopus daily practice in North Minahasa is leading towards improvement and sustainable attitude. However, most of the local actors, middlemen, fishery exporters, are not understand about certification yet. But the other side is some of them wish to know more about certification and even willing to join related training. For the second question, which is the government and governance perspective about certification. So certification is a complex process and seems too premature for now. Starting with the basic FIP and octopus management plan seems more feasible plan. So it would be better to make this first before going to certification. And the support of NGO and government is fundamental to organize local actors as well as support improvement program. So current activities that has been done is making the fisheries database by YPK and YPL, and doing the sustainable activities such as Rumah Boboca, and also in the progress to make Octopus Management National Plan and RPP Gurita or LPP Gurita. And what can be done in the future is to make the Octopus Management Association to have a communication forum between them, and they have a more active approach in the national scale. And to the local people, we can do the training or education more about the certification, about the MFP, MSC, and Fairtrade or Fairtrade. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you so much. And now I will open the Q&A session.
Terima kasih Viga atas presentasinya, pas sekali 20 menit. Menarik sekali ya, bahwa karena oktopus ini belum menjadi topik yang populer untuk dijadikan penelitian, jadi masih sangat jarang sekali teman-teman yang melakukan penelitian tentang gurita. Nah, mungkin untuk sesi selanjutnya adalah sesi tanya-jawab, Q&A session. Saya buka mungkin untuk sesi pertama, 3 penanya dulu, silakan yang ingin bertanya. Bisa open mic atau bisa tulis di chat. Tidak ada yang mau bertanya? Sandi? Ibu Zahida, silakan.
Terima kasih. Selamat sore, selamat pagi juga untuk Viga dan yang lainnya yang ada di Belanda. Saya ingin mengapresiasi terlebih dahulu ya. Tadi di conclusion Viga menyatakan bahwa pekerjaan sertifikasi ini adalah sesuatu yang sesuatu yang apa tadi disampaikan oleh Viga, sesuatu yang sangat kompleks, merupakan sesuatu yang sangat kompleks dan sepertinya sesuatu hal yang tidak mungkin untuk waktu dekat ini. Begitu ya tadi ya kesimpulannya. Tapi tentu saja kita tidak akan bisa sampai ke titik itu kalau kita tidak memulainya dari sekarang. Dan menurut saya ini adalah pekerjaan awal, inisiatif awal yang sangat baik yang dilakukan oleh Viga bersama-sama dengan YAPK, Bu Ami dan yang lain-lain. Dan menurut saya ini perlu ditindaklanjuti dan barangkali ada sejumlah hal yang perlu diperjelas gitu dan juga perlu diinventarisasi sebetulnya persoalan-persoalan atau masalah-masalah apa saja yang akan menjadi penghalang atau yang akan menjadi kendala pada saat kita melakukan sertifikasi tersebut. Nah, jadi menurut saya tidak akan bertanya kepada Viga, tapi saya mengapresiasi apa yang sudah dikerjakan oleh Viga bersama-sama dengan YAPK, karena menurut saya memang yang pertama sertifikasi untuk banyak hal memang bukan sebuah pekerjaan ringan, karena tadi banyak standar yang tidak terlalu jelas gitu. Standarnya juga standar, tapi standarnya sekarang ini, besok lain lagi gitu. Jadi untuk membuat sesuatu yang certified atau membuat sertifikasi itu memang bukan pekerjaan mudah. Kemudian juga tadi Bu Ami menyatakan bahwa oktopus ini bukan jenis yang banyak diteliti ya. Jadi ini pekerjaan yang sudah dilakukan oleh Viga menurut saya bukan pekerjaan yang main-main. Ini pekerjaan yang sangat layak untuk diapresiasi dan menurut saya juga perlu dukungan dari semua stakeholder. Nah, barangkali di sini Viga sebagai periset dan juga YAPK sebagai NGO bisa menindaklanjutinya dengan membuat tahapan-tahapan berikutnya untuk membuat sertifikasi yang sudah diinisiasi oleh YAPK dengan salah satunya Viga sebagai periset itu bisa dilanjutkan. Itu barangkali yang ingin saya sampaikan, Bu Ami.
Terima kasih banyak Ibu Zahida. Iya. Untuk selanjutnya mungkin pertanyaan selanjutnya datang dari Bapak.
Mau menanggapi sedikit ya, Mbak, kalau boleh.
Silakan,
Ya,
silakan.
terima kasih banyak Bu Zaida atas masukannya dan sarannya dan juga apresiasinya. Ya jujur juga karena tadi juga sebelumnya Viga bilang dari awal sudah sangat tertarik dengan isu sertifikasi ini dan sejauh ini yang lebih sering kan lebih ke tuna, rajungan, crab dan beberapa spesies lainnya. Tapi untuk oktopus ini mungkin jarang. Kalau di oktopus sendiri mungkin baru ada beberapa di FIP. Nanti juga Viga mau sedikit tunjukin sih tentang gimana progres FIP di case oktopus lain sekarang kalau ada waktu. Dan juga memang betul sih harus dari semua stakeholder juga berencana untuk step by step. Makanya emang dimulai dari basic FIP dulu, kemudian apabila memungkinkan mungkin bisa naik ke comprehensive FIP dan nanti ke sertifikasi gitu. Cuman yang menarik memang saat ini juga salah satu masalah dari MSC dari sertifikasi sendiri adalah terlalu inklusifnya si eco-labeling ini untuk skala industri saja, sedangkan untuk skala perikanan kecil atau small scale fisheries ini standarnya bisa dibilang terlalu high achieving banget untuk aktor-aktor dalam scale small scale fisheries. So mungkin ada juga standar baru yaitu fair trade yang mana lebih inklusif untuk tuna fisheries seperti itu. Contohnya yang baru juga diterapkan di Maluku. Tapi juga ini jadi bahan diskusi menarik sih. Apakah memang itu jadi pertanyaan Viga juga di awal? Apakah memang harus disertifikasi atau atau perbaikan ke arah sustainable saja sudah cukup. Tapi kan balik lagi MSC ini demand dari buyer di US dan di Amerika. Karena kalau Viga sendiri di sini pengalaman di US, kalau going to groceries atau beli ikan atau beli seafood, semua sekarang udah ada eco label-nya. Dan itu lebih make sure, lebih safe sih buat saya untuk berarti ikan ini udah safe. Jadi demand seperti itu. Sedangkan di negara kita kan masih belum ke arah sana gitu pembangunannya. Tapi dengan adanya rumah boboca ini sendiri udah salah satu driven ke arah sana sih, kalau dari analisis saya seperti itu.
Ya, dan mungkin juga untuk sertifikasi ini sulit ya, itu tadi seperti yang Viga bilang ya, inklusif ya. Apalagi waktu Viga wawancara ke nelayan, banyak juga yang masih belum ngerti sertifikasi ini apaan sih, ini barang apa gitu kan, apa untungnya buat kami gitu kan. Nah, mungkin kalau misalnya berat gitu ya, karena dia tuh tidak inklusif, kurang inklusif, mungkin ke depan kita bisa bikin semacam kerjasama gitu. Mungkin yang bisa membantu untuk memenuhi persyaratan itu bisa dari sektor industri, misalnya dari PT yang kemarin Viga wawancara gitu kan, dia kan berkecimpung di bidang ekspor, atau dengan NGO juga. Jadi seperti itu. Oke. Pertanyaan selanjutnya ini datang dari Pak Budi. Pertanyaan dari Pak Budi itu adalah, menurut Viga, hal-hal masalah penting apa dalam sertifikasi MSC dalam prinsip pertama, dikarenakan kurangnya data dan kurangnya kebijakan dari pemerintah untuk memenuhi sertifikasi tersebut. Silakan Viga.
Ya, terima kasih banyak atas pertanyaan Pak Budi. Mungkin juga nanti mau dengar sedikit sharing dari Pak Budi sih soal udah sejauh apa kalau dari segi akademisi sendiri berdiskusi soal Octopus ini. Tapi kalau dari Viga sedikit mau sharing juga karena keterbatasan waktu, jadi saya nggak bisa masukin PPT. Hanya saya udah prepare untuk mau sedikit share juga persyaratan yang dimaksud dengan prinsipal itu apa sih. Jadi ada tiga prinsipal dari MSC sendiri: Sustainable Fish Stock, Minimizing Environmental Impact, and Fishery Management. Dan di sini juga ada diskusi mengenai stock evaluation, mengenai strateginya seperti apa, dan ya ini sangat kompleks, ada 28 total, jadi nggak akan dibahas satu-satu. Tapi karena Pak Budi nanya spesifik ke stok ke yang pertama, kalau menurut Viga sebenarnya pendataan sudah dimulai dilakukan di level masyarakat sih Pak, terutama oleh NGO, oleh YPK, oleh YPL, sudah ada pendataan. Hanya saja mungkin data ini belum diintegrasi dengan baik di level nasional gitu dengan level kementerian. Jadi mungkin ada mismatch karena negara kita besar dan ada mismatch manajemen data di Octopus ini. Jadi mungkin data ini juga belum terarrange. Makanya dari SFP sendiri, Sustainable Fishing kemarin sudah mulai mengkolek data dan sudah mulai memproduce rencana untuk membuat RPP Gurita.
Iya.
Seperti itu Pak. Barangkali ada
Okay.
masukan lebih lanjut dari Pak Budi.
Okay, Vika, thank you very much, Annette, for the opportunity to join the seminar. So yeah, I think I agree with the recommendation from Vika about the way to MSC is certification is very important on Octopus, and also the very important thing is the principle number 1, because will be related to the government policy. Without any this, although you have a practice in the field with a good practice for fishing and also environmental impact, but if there is no fulfill of principle 1, maybe it's very difficult to get it. So I think I just give a suggestion. The Octopus Fishery need a facilitator to focus on the certification. I think you have started with the data collection, but I agree because this one is should be from the local. For example, when there is no data on the stock, we can do like risk assessment from the local and then propose to the government and the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries, and continue for the pre-assessment for MSC. But for the other certification like fair trade is quite different. They mostly related to the social, economic, but also there is some environmental factor, but the focus is more there. That's why experience for the tuna fisheries is proposing the fair trade certification is take, I think, 1-2 years. But proposing the MSC certification, I have some experience for MDPI. Is I think it's around 6 years. Yeah. 2014 until 2020. Yeah, that's why it's quite. This one is a lot of commitment on also in the company side also, yeah, the buyer side, yeah, this one. This one is one, but I think the certification of Octopus is very prospectus. It's very big opportunity on this because the MSc Institute, yeah, I mean, is also waiting more fisheries product that certified by MSc. So support from the MSc and then also from the donor, yeah, I think it's quite very high.
Yes.
In terms of octopus fishery, I think there is some social issues also quite because the transparency on the price and bargaining for the fisher to the price also is very low, yeah, because the fisher cannot decide it, the price what they would like to have it because they already governed by the buyer, something like that. One is the other social issues. I think this is from me, but for all, it's very good presentation, Viga, and also we waiting for you in Indonesia, Ken. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you,
very
Annette,
much,
for
Pak Budi.
the opportunity for the time. Ya, selamat sore, ya selamat pagi di sana.
Terima kasih Pak Budi. Mungkin ada yang ingin menanggapi apa yang tadi disampaikan oleh Pak Budi? Annette, do you want to respond to what has been said by Pak Budi?
Sorry. No, yeah. I'm actually also learning a lot about octopus fishery, so I really appreciate all this very good questions and great input, and I actually I think what Budi also says about more like a step-by-step approach. I think it's very important, and also like the social issues that needs to be like. Yeah, that we need to maybe know more about, indeed, about the transparency issue, maybe also the issues of the small scale character of octopus fisheries. How can they organize? What will be the benefits? As you also mentioned, I think I mean the benefits for the fishes themselves. What is what is in it for them? That's of course very important. I think Vika has done a really wonderful job in this study in the interviews. I'm very impressed also with what came out of this. I think like another kind of research that is not online could go more into into these more like local social conditions. I think that would be very interesting, but I think that's difficult to do online. So I think if we look at the constraints of this online study, I think a lot of very insightful information came from it, and also from this discussion. So I really appreciate this a lot.
Thank you, Annette. Dan saya juga merasa juga apa yang disebutkan Pak Budi tadi mengenai hubungan sosial di level masyarakat sendiri antara nelayan dengan misalnya pengumpulnya itu tuh mereka punya hubungan sosial yang cukup erat dan di satu sisi erat, di sisi lain bisa rumit gitu. Jadi ini juga yang perlu kita mungkin bisa jadi studi tersendiri nanti. Mungkin Viga ada adik kelasnya yang mau magang lagi di YAPK gitu ya, mempelajari mengenai hubungan sosial antara nelayan gurita dengan pengumpulnya. Gitu. Mungkin ini akan menjadi satu penelitian yang menarik. Gitu. Oke, kita masih punya waktu sekitar 10 menit. Mungkin satu pertanyaan lagi mungkin ya. Kira-kira adakah yang ingin bertanya?
Ya, boleh.
Boleh, silakan Mas Akbar.
Yeah. So I'm going to say it in English. I think what Viga already presented is bringing to us one big chunk of information that never been like talk about it, maybe in several different occasions. Yeah. So I'm talking about this because YAPK, we already worked with several batch of internship from Wageningen University. So it's like the fourth, isn't it?
Maybe.
The third.
Sorry? Yes?
Third.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
So where was I?
The third.
Viga is the third intern from Wageningen.
Yeah, and so we want to keep this tradition. The first one is only like, between friends, and then someone come and another one come, and then Viga. Here to continue this tradition somehow. I don't know. We used to work with Professor Tinka Merck from the marine animal ecology. So Viga now here with different perspective of it. We used to be really heavy in ecosystem and those kind of things. Then now we have something a bit different, which is good. And I think with this kind of energy, we would like to invite for another challenge. For example, like how we can establish something beyond certification, for example. How we can establish community to community support between the user of our resources in the market directly to the community on the ground, for example. How we can do that. Because I think beyond this discussion about certification, about contemporary way of doing temporary closure, for example, with traditional way of doing temporary closure for other resources, for other fisheries aspects. There are many different kind of locally managed marine area that really similar to the temporary closure that being implemented in North Minahasa. If we go a little bit up to the north to the Sangihe Island, they have different mechanism. They have traditional way. They have traditional value to be used for this kind of resource management. So I think that would be next challenge, Viga.
Yeah.
How do you look for youth like you, young person like you wants to see this kind of thing? Because it's from my side of the world, now it's very difficult to find people, young people like you who wants to see this kind of thing. People will go to information technology, industry, whatever it is, but not sustainable development or conservation like this. So very happy for you. is a good achievement. Looking forward for next step.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you so much. Yeah, can I respond to that, Mami?
Ya, silakan Viga.
Yeah, I'm really also glad and would like to say a very big thanks to YPK for giving me the opportunities. Yeah, unfortunately I can't go to the field. Yeah, I really want to go to see the beauty of the Sulawesi and then have interaction with local peoples, which I can imagine it will be more active compared to online interview. But unfortunately, due to the pandemic, I can't go to there. But then, yeah, what I can do next is maybe not only bring this link to Wageningen, but also maybe to Unpad or even to IPB to have another person that maybe can have internship to YPK to learn more about what happened in the field. So about sustainable development in a local scale and about small scale fisheries. So I will really encourage the person that I know later to have internship in YPK. Thank you very much.
Terima kasih, Viga. Ya, sebenarnya sih masih ada sekitar 8 menit lagi ya sampai acara ini berakhir. Apakah masih ada yang ingin bertanya? Saya berikan satu kesempatan terakhir atau memberi komentar mungkin menanggapi proses presentasi ini mulai dari awal sampai sekarang. Kalau tidak ada?
Mungkin kita bisa undang teman kita yang dari Unpad, tapi juga ada di PB sekarang untuk kasih komen, yang juga sedang melakukan riset bersama kita. Ujang mungkin bisa kasih komen.
Saudara Ujang Suhendar, bisa open mic.
Oh iya, terima kasih Pak Akbar atas kesempatannya. Sebelumnya saya ucapkan selamat buat Viga atas selesainya internship-nya. Terus saya juga ingin bersilaturahmi dengan dosen saya di sini, ada Bu Zahidah, ada Pak Alex juga di sini. Yang waktu itu saya berkuliah di Unpad juga di ilmu perikanan. Saat ini saya sedang menempuh pendidikan di PB, di SPL. Salam kenal Pak Budi, saya ada beberapa jurnal Bapak yang sudah saya baca juga. Menarik untuk dibahas. Mungkin saya lebih ke ada pertanyaan sih Mbak, karena ada kaitannya dengan proyek saya di Kupang itu.
Terakhir, Ujang. Pertanyaan terakhir ya. Oke, silakan Ujang.
Ya, ada beberapa pertanyaan yang ingin saya sampaikan. Sangat menarik sekali di sini untuk pemasaran. Peran dari middleman itu tengkulak ya di sini ya, maksudnya itu
Ya.
Itu sangat penting.
Ya.
Apakah itu apakah itu bisa dipersingkat nggak itu, misalkan ada solusi atau apa gitu ketika si nelayan itu bisa langsung gitu atau enggak, dengan apalagi dengan adanya rencana untuk sertifikasi itu untuk mempersingkat rantai pasarnya itu, sehingga keuntungan yang sangat besar bisa diambil oleh nelayan secara langsung. Itu satu. Terus satu lagi sih ada ini yang mengenai perikanan bobocah di sana tuh, ada kasus bycatch nggak sih di sana itu? Saya juga butuh informasi itu karena kebetulan di TNP Laut Sawit juga saya agak konsen di bycatch itu. Mungkin itu aja ya.
Oke, makasih Ujang. Langsung silakan Viga.
Ya, mungkin nanti izin menambahkan juga dari YPK karena dua hal ini saya nggak berkaitan langsung dengan kedua isu ini, tapi kalau dari sisi saya untuk pertanyaan pertama tadi untuk mempersingkat alur value chain, dari perspektif saya melalui case lain, misalnya kemarin saya juga concern di isu lobster, agak sulit sih untuk menghilangkan middleman ini karena kalau di beberapa jurnal nasional their role is a penggawa, so they give capital and loan. Mereka memberikan kapital dan modal kepada nelayan, jadi ada ikatan asas, ikatan kekeluargaan yang erat di antara mereka. Tapi betul kata Mbak Mi juga tadi complicated gitu, dan mungkin sekarang di beberapa case di Indonesia udah ada seperti misalnya NGO yang fokus ke pemasaran, untuk yang langsung pemasaran dari nelayan. Tapi setahu pengetahuan saya sendiri, sertifikasi tidak mengharuskan untuk tidak adanya middleman. atau tengkulak, malah kita harus lebih bekerja sama gitu dalam satu forum untuk mewadahi semua ini untuk bisa terlibat dalam sertifikasi. Kalau untuk bycatch sendiri, untuk saya sejujurnya kurang tahu, tapi yang jelas yang saya dapat informasinya adalah alat tangkap di sana itu cukup sustainable, jadi menurut saya agak bisa lebih terhindarkan lah dengan menggunakan alat tangkap yang sekarang di lapangan terhadap bycatch. Menurut perspektif saya seperti itu.
Oke. Terima kasih Viga. Mungkin saya sedikit menambahkan ya untuk yang middleman ini, mungkin untuk saat ini agak sulit kalau misalnya kita menghilangkan ya pengumpul atau local buyer dari rantai pasar karena nelayan nggak punya modal misalnya cool box. Jadi gurita itu nggak setiap hari dia dikirim ke perusahaan eksportir, enggak. Jadi dia disimpan dulu selama 3 hari, ditunggu sampai dia banyak, baru ada yang jemput atau si middleman ini yang mengirimkan ke perusahaan ekspor gitu. Jadi mungkin untuk saat ini belum bisa gitu karena nelayan nggak punya modal untuk itu. Nah, kemudian untuk bycatch tadi sudah disebut sama Viga bahwa alat tangkapnya sangat spesifik ya. Jadi bukan kayak jaring yang bisa menangkap banyak ikan dan berjenis-jenis ikan gitu, enggak. Tapi tadi Viga udah nampilin fotonya, jadi ada 3 alat tangkapnya. Pocong, ketang, sama sambi. Nah, 3 ini digunakan di kondisi yang berbeda juga gitu. Nanti mungkin Ujang kita bisa diskusi langsung untuk membicarakan fungsi alat tangkap ini ya.
Ya,
Oke.
siap, Mbak. Terima kasih.
Thank you for the question.
Ya. Oke, kita masih ada waktu 2 menit mungkin untuk yang terakhir saya mungkin akan minta Ibu Annette. I probably will ask Annette to give us some kind of like a final remarks for today's presentation. Please, Annette.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that opportunity. I think I already expressed my words of praise for this internship, and also again now in this presentation I learned a lot more about the complexity of certification. So and the conditions for that, also the social conditions. I think that's very important. I was also I also want to thank you also as internship provider, Yapeka, and for giving this opportunity, and also opportunity for me, and but also to work on this issue. And I was also I think it's very nice also that I hear that you have an intention to also keep this this collaboration with Wageningen University. I think that would be really great. I think so it's also not only biology, ecology, I think it's very important, but also the governance and the social issues in fisheries are something that really need attention. I think there is actually also a growing interest also in Wageningen among students who do environmental sciences, also marine sciences, to get into this more governance and certification in a marine context. So I see lots of interesting possibilities, and I also want to thank all the other people here today, the audience, for your great questions and remarks. And input. I'm not fluent in speaking Indonesian, but I do understand. So I could also follow the discussion. And I think that for me that's about it. I'm very grateful to be at this meeting.
Thank you very much, Annette. Ya, rekan-rekan sekalian yang telah hadir acara hari ini. Saya cukupkan sekian. Terima kasih atas partisipasinya Ibu Zahida, Pak Budi, kemudian teman-teman dari YAPK, Annette, Mas Akbar. Mungkin sebelum kita keluar dari meeting room, kita mau foto bersama, boleh? Jadi mungkin open camera. Can we take a photo together? So please open your camera. If you can, if you'd like. If you don't want, then it's okay. Okay. So I will screenshot this page. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. See you
Thank you
in
very much.
other opportunities. Bye-bye. Take care. Stay healthy.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Mbak Ami, terima kasih ya. YPK, terima kasih banyak.